I discovered my family planned their annual reunion vacation at my $3 million Malibu beach house without asking permission. My mother posted Instagram photos captioned, "Family vacation, so peaceful without drama," while I'm working 18-hour days launching my startup's newest product. My younger sister Emma tagged me mockingly, "Thanks for the free house, bro." I stared at my phone in my downtown Los Angeles office, watching my parents, 3 siblings, their spouses, and 5 children enjoying my infinity pool while I wasn't even invited to my own family gathering. My hands trembled as I dialed my mother's number, watching her Instagram story update in real time. The phone rang twice before her cheerful voice answered from what I recognized as my own kitchen. "Wilson, honey, perfect timing. We were just talking about you." "Mom, what are you doing in my house?" I kept my voice level despite the rage building in my chest. "Oh, don't be dramatic. We knew you were too busy with that computer thing to join us anyway. Besides, this beautiful place shouldn't sit empty when family needs it." I stood up from my desk, pacing to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bustling streets of downtown LA. 20 stories below, people hurried to meetings and lunch appointments while my world tilted sideways. "You took my spare key from the hidden lockbox. That was for emergencies only." "Well, this was an emergency. Your father's retirement party needed somewhere special and hotels are so expensive these days." My father's retirement party. From his insurance job that barely supported our family while I worked 2 jobs through college, graduating with honors in computer science, while my siblings coasted on my parents' financial support. "Patricia, who's that?" My father's voice carried through the phone, gruff and dismissive as always. "It's Wilson, dear. He's upset about us using his little beach shack." Little beach shack. The oceanfront property I'd saved every penny for 8 years to buy, working 16-hour days building my software company from my studio apartment while eating ramen noodles and wearing the same 3 shirts. "Tell him we'll clean up when we leave," Frank shouted back. "He should be grateful his family wants to spend time in his place." Emma's voice joined the conversation, clearly on speaker now. "Stop being so selfish, Wilson. Family should share. You never even use this place." "Never use it. I bought this house as my sanctuary, my reward for clawing my way out of our family's financial struggles while everyone else expected handouts." The irony was suffocating. "How long have you been planning this?" I asked, pulling up our family group chat on my computer. The chat I hadn't received notifications from in months. "Oh, just a few weeks. We made a separate group to organize everything. Didn't want to bother you with all the planning details." I scrolled through my phone searching for any family group chats. Nothing recent, nothing including me. "We invited your Aunt Carol and Uncle Pete, too," Emma chimed in. "And Cousin Danny with his new girlfriend. They drove all the way from Phoenix." People I barely knew, sleeping in my beds, using my bathrooms, eating from my kitchen. "You had no right to do this without asking." "Right." My father grabbed the phone. "Let me tell you about rights, son. We sacrificed everything so you could have your fancy education, while your brothers and sisters made do with whatever was left. This family made you who you are." The familiar guilt trip. The narrative that painted my success as their gift, rather than my own 18-hour days. My own sleepless nights debugging code. My own sacrifice of social life and relationships to build something meaningful. "Dad, I paid for my own education with student loans and 2 jobs. You paid for Jake's college before he dropped out twice. You paid for Emma's yoga certification and Chloe's entire degree." Ancient history, family supports, family. That's what we're doing here. I walked back to my desk, opening my laptop to check the security cameras I'd installed around the property. The live feed showed children splashing in my pool, while adults lounged on my custom outdoor furniture drinks and hand music playing from my expensive sound system. "Wilson." My mother's voice softened. "We just wanted to have a nice family vacation. You're always so busy we never see you anymore." The manipulation was expertly crafted. Make me the villain for working hard, for building something, for not being available for every family drama and crisis. "I need you all to leave, today." "Leave," Emma's voice turned sharp. We just got here. We have plans. I already posted about being here for the week. Posted about being here. My private refuge broadcast to her social media followers like a public rental property. We're family, Wilson. My mother's voice carried that wounded tone she'd perfected over decades. This is what families do. I hung up the phone and immediately called my property manager, Marcus. He answered on the first ring. Wilson, I was hoping you'd call. Your family arrived 3 days ago with a moving truck. I thought you knew. 3 days, a moving truck. They've been there 3 days. What moving truck? Brought their own furniture rearranged. Your living room moved a lot of your stuff to the garage. Said you told them to make themselves at home for the week. My custom Italian leather sectional moved to storage for their convenience. My carefully curated art collection displaced by their family photos and children's toys. Marcus, I never authorized this. I want them out today. There's more, Wilson. They've been charging meals and services to your house accounts. Yesterday alone was over $800 at Neptune's Net for a family dinner. And they've been giving tours to people saying they're showing off their summer house. Their summer house. My investment. My sanctuary. My reward for years of grinding work now claimed as family property. Change all the codes, Marcus, all of them. Security system, garage, front door, everything. When do you want me to do this? I looked at my watch. 4:30 p.m. My family would likely go out for dinner soon, charging another expensive meal to my accounts. Midnight. Change everything at exactly midnight. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with notifications. Emma had posted Instagram stories from my master bedroom, wearing my watches, captioning them, "My brother spoils me," with heart emojis and luxury lifestyle hashtags. She was in my private space touching my personal belongings, broadcasting my home's interior to thousands of strangers. The violation felt complete. My family had crossed every boundary, claimed my property as their own, and painted me as the villain for objecting. But they had no idea what I was capable of when pushed too far. I called Marcus back within minutes, needing complete details before making my next move. Tell me everything that's happened since they arrived. Marcus sighed heavily. Wilson, this has been the worst 3 days of my 10-year property management career. They showed up Monday morning with a U-Haul truck and 8 cars. Your father demanded I help them unload because Wilson would want family to be comfortable. I grabbed a notepad documenting everything for the conversation I knew was coming with my attorney. They moved your dining table to the garage and brought their own folding tables for some kind of buffet setup. Your wine cellar has been completely raided. I saw empty bottles of the Opus 1 collection on the counter this morning. My wine collection, 15 years of carefully selected bottles including a 1997 Opus 1 worth $5,000 that I'd been saving for a special occasion, now reduced to empties on my granite countertops. The neighbors have called me 4 times about noise complaints. Pool parties until 2 a.m. music so loud it carries 3 houses down. Mrs. Henderson next door asked if you'd started running some kind of vacation rental business. My reputation in this exclusive neighborhood, built over 2 years of being a respectful resident, destroyed in 3 days by my family's inconsiderate behavior. Marcus, what about security? Are they using the alarm system? That's another problem. They disabled it completely because it kept going off with all the people coming and going. Your sister Emma said the beeping was annoying during her morning yoga sessions. My $20,000 security system protecting artwork and electronics, worth hundreds of thousands, turned off for the convenience of my sister's yoga practice. How many people are actually staying there? I count 12 adults and 7 children, but there's been a steady stream of visitors. Your cousin Danny brought friends from Phoenix. Emma's been hosting some kind of influencer meetups, bringing people with cameras to take photos by your infinity pool. 19 people in a house designed for peaceful solitude. Strangers I'd never met sleeping in my beds, using my bathrooms, treating my home like a public venue. Wilson, there's something else. Your business partner Dylan called yesterday asking why there were news trucks outside your house. My stomach dropped. News trucks. Local station picked up on social media posts about your family vacation. Apparently it's trending on TikTok as some kind of wealthy family paradise content. Thousands of views of your house interior, your pool, your cars in the garage. My private residence broadcast to millions turned into content for social media engagement. My professional reputation potentially compromised by family members portraying themselves as equally wealthy and successful. They used your Tesla to make grocery runs. Your father posted Facebook photos of himself driving it captioned, "Living the good life thanks to my successful son." It has over 300 likes. I pulled up Facebook searching for my father's profile. There he was behind the wheel of my Model S grinning, like he owned it, surrounded by comments from his friends praising his generous son and asking about vacation home rental rates. "Marcus, I need you to inventory everything missing or damaged. Full documentation with photos." Already started. Your Bose sound system from the master bedroom is gone. So are 2 of your Rolex watches from the bedroom safe, which somehow they knew the combination to. My watches, gifts I'd bought myself for hitting major business milestones. The submariner I wore to ring the opening bell when our company went public, now missing from my own home. How did they get the safe combination? Your sister Emma posted an Instagram story yesterday showing the inside of your closet. In the background, you can see the safe door open with the combination taped to the inside. She deleted it after an hour, but I screenshotted it. Professional criminals would have shown more discretion than my own family. They'd broadcast my security information to social media while stealing my belongings. My phone buzzed with a call from Dylan, my business partner. I put Marcus on hold. "Wilson, we have a problem. Forbes is calling about your family vacation house situation. Someone sent them screenshots of your family claiming you bought the Malibu place with company funds as a personal retreat." The blood drained from my face. Our company was in the middle of Series C funding with investor meetings scheduled all week. Any suggestion of financial impropriety could torpedo months of preparation. "Dylan, that house was purchased entirely with my personal funds from the IPO proceeds. We have complete documentation." "I know that, but perception matters. I'm looking at TikTok videos of your family giving house tours to strangers claiming it's the family summer home that you provide for everyone. Your sister is literally charging people $20 for photos by your pool. Emma was monetizing access to my home, charging strangers for photo opportunities on my property, turning my sanctuary into a commercial venture without my knowledge or consent. I'll handle this, Dylan. Family emergency is about to be resolved permanently. Handle it fast. Investor meeting is tomorrow afternoon, and they're already asking questions about executive lifestyle and company fund allocation." I switched back to Marcus. "Change those codes at midnight exactly as planned. I'll be there at 11:45 with security and legal representation." "Wilson, what about all their belongings they've spread out like they're moving in permanently?" "They'll figure it out." As I hung up, my phone exploded with notifications. Emma had gone live on Instagram from my kitchen, giving a tour of my wine collection to her followers, explaining that her generous brother loves sharing his success with family. She opened a bottle of Screaming Eagle Cabernet worth over $3,000 and poured it for her viewers like it was grocery store wine. The comments were flooding in. "Your brother is so lucky. Can we visit? Is this available for parties? What's the rental rate?" My private home had become public entertainment, my personal possessions treated as community property. My professional reputation threatened by family members who saw my success as their own entitlement. But they had severely underestimated what happened when you backed a successful entrepreneur into a corner. The same strategic thinking that built my company would now be applied to protecting it. I immediately called my attorney, Sarah Chen, interrupting her Wednesday afternoon court preparation. "Sarah, I need an emergency consultation. Family situation has become a legal crisis." "Wilson, what's going on?" I explained the unauthorized occupation, property damage, social media broadcast, and business reputation threats. Sarah listened without interruption, occasionally asking for clarification about timelines and evidence. "This is more serious than family drama, Wilson. You're facing potential insurance fraud, property damage claims, theft charges, and business defamation. We need to move quickly." "What kind of timeline are we looking at?" "Homeowners' insurance policies have specific clauses about unauthorized occupancy. If someone gets injured during these parties, your family is throwing your coverage could be completely voided. They've essentially turned your private residence into an unpermitted commercial venue. I hadn't considered the liability issues. 19 people plus rotating visitors, alcohol consumption swimming pools, expensive equipment, all without proper insurance coverage for commercial use. There's also the adverse possession concern. In California, if someone establishes residence and makes improvements to property, while claiming ownership, they can begin building a legal case for possession rights. They've been there 3 days, Sarah. But they've moved in furniture, changed living arrangements, established mail delivery, and are publicly claiming it as family property. Your father's social media posts about his family's summer house could be used to establish intent to claim possession. My hands started shaking as I realized how calculated this invasion was becoming. This wasn't spontaneous vacation planning. This was strategic property takeover disguised as family bonding. We need restraining orders, property protection injunctions, and immediate cease and desist orders for the social media content. I'll file emergency motions this afternoon. How much is this going to cost me, Sarah? Legal fees for this level of emergency response, probably $25,000 for the first week. But Wilson, the alternative is potentially losing your property, facing business reputation damage that could cost millions, and criminal liability for insurance fraud if someone gets hurt. I approved the legal strategy, then called my accountant Jennifer to assess financial damage. Wilson, I've been monitoring your account since you called. In 3 days, your family has charged over $12,000 to your household accounts. $12,000 in 3 days. Catered meals, spa services, shopping deliveries, entertainment rentals. Yesterday alone, your mother charged an $800 massage therapist visit, and your father rented jet skis for $600. I pulled up my bank app, scrolling through charges I'd never authorized. Premium grocery delivery, luxury car detailing for vehicles they'd driven to my house, pool maintenance for a party setup I'd never approved. There's more, Wilson. Your family established automatic billing for a vacation rental cleaning service, weekly landscaping upgrades, and something called luxury concierge services through the end of the month. They'd sign me up for ongoing services, creating financial obligations that would continue billing my accounts for weeks beyond their planned stay. Jennifer, freeze all household accounts immediately. Cancel every automatic payment and subscription added in the past week. Already working on it. But some services require 24-hour notice, and your family signed contracts with cancellation penalties. I was being financially held hostage by my own family members who'd committed fraud using my property and accounts as collateral. My phone buzzed with incoming calls. First, a local news producer asking for comment about my family vacation home dispute. Then, a TikTok influencer wanting to rent my house for content creation. Then, a party planning service asking about availability for corporate events. Emma's social media content had turned my private residence into perceived public venue, generating business inquiries I never wanted while creating legal liability I couldn't afford. But the worst call came from my insurance agent, Karen Rodriguez. Wilson, we have a problem. I'm looking at social media posts showing commercial activity at your Malibu property. Charging people for access, hosting events, operating what appears to be an unlicensed vacation rental business. Karen, I'm not operating any business. My family is squatting in my house without permission and apparently monetizing access without my knowledge. The policy doesn't distinguish between your activity and unauthorized activity on your property. If you're not taking steps to prevent commercial use, you're liable for policy violations. I'm taking legal action right now to remove them. That's good, but damage may already be done. I have to report the commercial activity to our underwriters. Your policy could be canceled or rates significantly increased based on risk assessment. I hung up and immediately Googled my name. The first page of results now showed TikTok videos of my house, Instagram posts of my family's vacation, and entertainment blog articles about tech millionaires' Malibu lifestyle. My carefully maintained professional privacy destroyed in 72 hours by family members who treated my success as their personal entertainment brand. I called my private investigator contact, Nancy Stewart, who specialized in corporate security and asset protection. Nancy, I need complete documentation of property damage theft, unauthorized access, and commercial activity at my Malibu residence, starting immediately. Standard rate is $500 per hour plus expenses. How detailed do you need this? Detailed enough to support criminal charges and civil lawsuits. I want photo evidence, video surveillance, financial documentation, social media screenshots, and witness statements. This is family, Wilson. You sure you want to go full forensic investigation? Nancy, they stole $50,000 worth of wine disabled. My security system are charging strangers money to take pictures at my pool and may have committed fraud by claiming ownership of my property. They stopped being family when they started committing felonies. As I coordinated with my legal and investigative team, my phone continued buzzing with family calls I refused to answer. They had no idea that their peaceful vacation was about to become a very expensive legal nightmare. The child who once feared disappointing his family was gone. The man who'd built a multi-million-dollar company by making difficult decisions under pressure was taking control. By 6 p.m., I'd assembled a comprehensive response team in my downtown office conference room. Attorney Sarah Chen, private investigator Nancy Stewart, public relations specialist Amanda Torres, and my business partner Dylan Williams sat around the mahogany table reviewing evidence and strategy. Nancy, what did your preliminary investigation find? Nancy opened her laptop, displaying high-resolution photographs on the wall monitor. Wilson, this goes beyond unauthorized access. Your family is operating an illegal vacation rental business using your property as the asset. The first photo showed a handwritten sign by my front door, Malibu Dream House Tours, $20. Ask Emma. My sister had literally turned my home into a paid attraction. Emma's been advertising on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Instagram. Exclusive Malibu mansion access, celebrity neighborhood tours, luxury pool parties. She's booked solid through the weekend with paying customers. I stared at screenshots of advertisements using photos of my home's interior, marketing, my private space like a commercial venue, my master bedroom, my kitchen, my art collection, all promoted for strangers' entertainment. It gets worse. Your brother Jake has been selling marijuana to visiting customers from your wine cellar using your address for delivery coordination. I documented 12 different buyers yesterday alone. My house had become a drug distribution center. Jake's marijuana dealing, which I'd suspected but never confirmed, was now operating from my property with my address attached to criminal activity. Your father has been soliciting donations online, claiming your family is homeless, and you're trying to evict them from their only shelter. He's raised over $8,000 on GoFundMe using photos of your house and sob stories about family abandonment. Frank was crowdfunding sympathy money by portraying himself as my victim, while simultaneously enjoying luxury accommodations at my expense. The manipulation was breathtakingly sophisticated. Amanda Torres, the PR specialist, pulled up social media analytics on her tablet. Wilson, this situation is trending across multiple platforms. Hashtag Malibu Family Drama has over 2 million views. Your family has positioned themselves as relatable underdogs fighting against wealthy privilege. What's the narrative damage? Significant. Local news interviewed your neighbors about excessive wealth inequality and family values versus money. Your mother gave a tearful interview claiming you've forgotten your roots and abandoned the people who made your success possible. I watched video clips of my mother sitting in my own living room, tearfully explaining to reporters how her successful son had become cruel and materialistic, caring more about property than family relationships. Sarah Chen reviewed legal documents spread across the table. Wilson, I filed emergency restraining orders against all family members, but there's a complication. Your father has counterfiled a lawsuit claiming partial ownership of your property based on financial contributions to your education and business development. That's completely fraudulent. I have documentation proving I paid my own education costs and startup capital. I know, but it creates a legal cloud over the property that could delay eviction proceedings. He's also claimed you verbally promised to share the house with family members in perpetuity. Dylan leaned forward, concern evident on his face. Wilson, Our investors are getting nervous. I had 3 phone calls today asking about executive judgment and family management skills. If you can't handle your own family, how can you handle a $100 million company immediately? The professional implications were becoming clear. My family's public drama wasn't just personal embarrassment. It was threatening investor confidence in my leadership capabilities during our most critical funding phase. I've prepared a comprehensive counter strategy, Sarah continued. We're filing criminal charges for theft, fraud, property damage, and illegal business operations, civil suits for defamation, property conversion, and financial damages. And we're documenting everything for potential federal wire fraud charges related to the crowdfunding scheme. Nancy pulled up financial tracking data on her laptop. Wilson, your family has caused over $250,000 in quantifiable damage. Property damage, stolen items, unauthorized charges, lost wine collection security system, replacement legal fees and business opportunity costs. $250,000. More money than most people made in 5 years, destroyed in 3 days by people who claim to love me. Here's what happens tonight, I said, standing up and walking to the window overlooking the city lights. Marcus changes all security codes at midnight. Nancy's surveillance team documents their lockout and removal. Sarah's legal papers are served immediately. Amanda coordinates media response to counter their narrative. Wilson, Amanda asked, what's your message strategy? How do you want to frame this publicly? I turned back to the team. The truth. Successful entrepreneur protects property from family members who committed theft, fraud, and illegal business operations. This isn't about money or greed. This is about boundaries, respect, and criminal behavior. Sarah nodded approvingly. That positions you as responsible business leader taking appropriate legal action against criminal activity, not wealthy son abandoning needy family. What about the emotional component? Dylan asked. This is still your family. I sat back down, considering the question that had been tearing at me all day. My family stopped treating me like family when they started treating me like a resource to be exploited. I've been enabling their financial irresponsibility for years by bailing them out of problems they created. This ends tonight. Nancy checked her watch. Wilson, it's 7:30. Your family just returned from another expensive dinner charged to your accounts. They're planning a pool party with 30 invited guests for tomorrow night. I heard them coordinating with event planners. A 30-person party at my house planned without my knowledge, charged to my accounts, featuring my property and possessions as entertainment for strangers. The violation was complete. Execute the plan exactly as designed. I'll be there at 11:45 to oversee the lockout personally. As my team dispersed to coordinate their respective roles, I remained in the conference room looking out at the city where I'd built my success through careful planning, hard work, and strategic decision-making. The same skills that built my company would now protect it from people who saw my achievements as their entitlement. My family had made a critical miscalculation. They'd pushed someone who specialized in solving complex problems under pressure, someone who had resources and expertise they couldn't comprehend, someone who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable destructive behavior. Tonight would be their education in consequences. I arrived at my Malibu property at 11:45 p.m., parking 3 houses down to observe the situation before making my move. Nancy Stewart's surveillance team was already positioned with high-definition cameras documenting everything from concealed vantage points around my neighborhood. My house blazed with lights from every window, music echoing across the exclusive beachfront community where noise ordinances were strictly enforced. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see my family and their guests dancing in my living room, drinking from my bar, celebrating their successful occupation of my sanctuary. Marcus arrived precisely at 11:50, carrying electronic lock programming equipment and new security codes. Behind him came James Patterson, my private security coordinator, with 2 additional team members dressed in professional business attire. Wilson, your family has been telling neighbors they're moving in permanently, Marcus whispered as we watched the house. Your mother told Mrs. Henderson next door that you'd gifted them the property as a retirement present for your father. Permanent residence claims. My mother was establishing public narrative that supported adverse possession arguments, creating witnesses who believed my family had legitimate claim to my property. James, what's your team's assessment? The former police officer studied the house through binoculars, noting entry points and occupant positions. 19 adults, 12 children, intoxicated behavior, no awareness of security presence. Clean lockout operation, minimal resistance expected. At 11:58, I called my family's phone simultaneously, knowing they wouldn't answer, but establishing legal notification that I'd attempted contact before changing access codes. At exactly midnight, Marcus activated new security programming. Electronic locks clicked throughout my property. Garage doors, front entrance, pool house, guest quarters, all simultaneously secured with codes my family didn't possess. We waited. 12:15 a.m. headlights approached my driveway. 2 cars filled with my family members returning from another expensive dinner charged to my accounts, followed by a catering truck I hadn't authorized. I watched my father confidently approach the front door key ring in hand. He inserted the old key and turned. Nothing. Tried again. The electronic lock remained secured. What the hell? Frank's voice carried across the night air as he tried the keypad, entering the old code repeatedly. Emma approached with her phone's flashlight, examining the lock mechanism, like the problem might be technical rather than intentional. The code isn't working, Dad. Try your key, Emma. She tried her copy of the old key. Nothing. Her confidence began shifting to confusion as the reality of changed locks penetrated their consciousness. Patricia emerged from the second car, immediately escalating to panic. What do you mean the keys don't work? Our stuff is inside the children's toys. Jake stumbled from the passenger seat, clearly intoxicated from their evening out. I'll climb the fence and get in through the pool gate. Sir, that would be criminal trespassing, James called out from the shadows, stepping into the landscape lighting with his team flanking him. This property is under security protection. My family spun around, suddenly aware they weren't alone in their lockout crisis. Who are you? This is our house, Emma demanded, pulling out her phone to live stream the confrontation. Ma'am, you're mistaken. This is private property owned by Wilson Matthews. You're currently trespassing on secured premises. Frank stepped forward aggressively. I'm his father. This is family property. James remained calm, professional. Sir, I have documentation showing you have no legal claim to this property. I'm going to need you to gather your belongings and vacate the premises immediately. Our belongings are inside. Patricia's voice reached hysteria levels. Everything we brought, our clothes, our medicines, the children's things. That's when I emerged from the shadows, walking slowly up my own driveway to confront the family that had violated every boundary I'd ever established. Hello, everyone. The silence was deafening. Emma stopped live streaming. Jake sobered up instantly. Patricia stared like she was seeing a ghost. Frank's aggression melted into confusion. My mother's voice was small, uncertain. What are you doing here? I'm at my house, Mom. The house you've been illegally occupying, damaging, and using for commercial purposes without my permission. Commercial purposes. Frank stepped forward. What are you talking about? I pulled out Nancy's documentation, illuminating it with my phone's flashlight. Emma's vacation rental advertisements. Jake's marijuana distribution operation. Your crowdfunding scam claiming homelessness while living in a $3 million house. Commercial purposes. Emma's face went pale. Wilson, I can explain. You charged strangers $20 for photos by my pool. You advertised my house on Craigslist as a party venue. You turned my private residence into a business without permits, licenses, or my consent. Sarah Chen emerged from the second security vehicle carrying legal documents and a briefcase. Mr. Matthews, I have restraining orders and criminal charges ready for service. Criminal charges, Patricia gasped. We're family. Family members who stole $50,000 worth of wine-damaged property, committed fraud, and operated illegal businesses from my address. I replied calmly. Family doesn't excuse felony behavior. Jake became belligerent. You can't do this to us. We're blood relatives. Blood relatives who've been selling drugs from my wine cellar using my address for criminal activity that could result in my property being seized by federal authorities. Frank tried his familiar intimidation tactics. Wilson, you're making a mistake. Family is forever. Money comes and goes. Family respects boundaries, Dad. Family asks permission before using someone's home. Family doesn't steal, lie, and commit fraud while claiming love. Sarah stepped forward with official documents. I'm serving restraining orders requiring all of you to maintain 500 feet distance from this property. Violation results in immediate arrest. What about our things? Emma pleaded. Our clothes, our personal items. Everything will be inventoried and returned once property damage assessment is complete, Sarah replied. Estimated timeline is 72 hours. Patricia broke down crying. Wilson, please. We just wanted a nice family vacation. We didn't mean any harm. Mom, you've caused $250,000 in damage, threatened my business reputation, and committed multiple felonies. Harm was absolutely intended. The catering truck driver approached nervously. Excuse me, folks, I have a delivery for tomorrow's party set up. Who's signing for this? What party? I asked. Emma avoided eye contact. We planned a celebration for Dad's retirement. 30 people, full catering, live music. 30 strangers partying at my house, charged to my accounts without my knowledge or permission. We thought, she started, then stopped. You thought you could take whatever you wanted because I've enabled this behavior for years by bailing you out of every financial crisis you created. I finished. That ends tonight. Frank made one last attempt at manipulation. Son, we raised you. We sacrificed everything for your education, your opportunities. You owe us. I owe you nothing, Dad. I paid my own education costs while you funded everyone else's. I built my business with my own work while you spent my childhood telling me I'd never amount to anything. I succeeded, despite our family dynamics, not because of them. Security began documenting their personal belongings left outside the house, photographing everything for legal protection, while my family stood on my driveway, finally understanding that their lifetime of taking advantage of my success had reached its end. The child who once desperately wanted their approval was gone. The man who'd built his own empire was protecting it from people who saw his achievements as their birthright. As dawn broke over Malibu, my family sat on the beach outside my property, with their luggage, finally comprehending that their vacation was over. Sarah Chen had spent the night serving legal papers, while Nancy Stewart documented evidence of their illegal activities. Local police arrived at 6 a.m. to formally process the trespassing complaints and theft charges. Officer Maria Rodriguez approached my family with professional detachment. Ma'am, you're under arrest for theft charges exceeding $50,000, she informed Patricia, reading Miranda rights while handcuffing my mother on the public beach. This is insane, Patricia sobbed. I'm his mother. We were just borrowing some wine. $50,000 worth of wine, ma'am. That's grand theft under California law. Frank attempted to intervene. Officer, this is a family dispute, not a criminal matter. Sir, theft is theft regardless of family relationships. You're also under arrest for fraud related to the crowdfunding scheme claiming homelessness while illegally occupying a luxury property. I watched from my deck as my parents were loaded into separate police cars, their lifetime of manipulation and entitlement finally meeting consequences they couldn't charm or guilt their way out of. Emma tried desperately to negotiate with Sarah Chen. Look, I'll take down all the social media posts, cancel the party reservations, pay back the money. Ms. Matthews, you operated an illegal business using someone else's property, charged admission to strangers, and advertised rental services without permits. The district attorney will determine appropriate charges. Jake sat silently on a piece of driftwood, his drug-dealing operation exposed and documented. The marijuana he'd been selling from my wine cellar was photographed, measured, and confiscated as evidence of distribution charges. My youngest sister, Chloe, approached me tentatively. "Wilson, I need you to know I didn't participate in any of the illegal stuff. I just thought Mom and Dad had permission to be here." "Chloe, you posted Instagram stories from inside my house without asking, used my amenities, and charged expensive meals to my accounts. I was following everyone else's lead. I thought this was normal family sharing." Her genuine confusion was the first honest emotion I'd seen from any family member. Chloe had been raised in the same toxic dynamic, but hadn't yet developed the entitlement and manipulation skills of her older siblings. "I'm willing to work out separate terms for you," I told her. "But only if you're completely honest about everything that happened and willing to testify truthfully about what everyone else did." Relief flooded her face. "Yes, absolutely. Wilson, I've been uncomfortable with this whole situation. Emma's been making money off your house. Jake's been dealing drugs. Mom and Dad have been lying to everyone about having permission." Dylan arrived at 7:30 with coffee and my laptop, setting up a makeshift office on my deck to handle investor relations. "Wilson, I've been fielding calls all night. Investors are actually impressed with your decisive crisis management." Impressed. They see a CEO who identified threats to business reputation and neutralized them quickly using appropriate legal channels. One investor called it exemplary executive decision-making under pressure. Amanda Torres, my PR specialist, joined us with newspaper clippings and social media analytics. "Wilson, the narrative has completely shifted. Initial family sympathy is being replaced by shock over the illegal activities. Emma's live stream of the lockout went viral, but not in the way she intended. She showed me the viral TikTok video Emma had recorded during the midnight confrontation. Comments weren't supporting my family's victim narrative. Instead, viewers were expressing amazement at their sense of entitlement and praising my professional handling of criminal behavior. People are calling you Boundary King and using your situation as an example of how successful people should handle family exploitation," Amanda continued. "The hashtag has shifted from Malibu family drama to respect boundaries." My phone rang. Marcus, my property manager, with damage assessment results. "Wilson, the final inventory is complete. Total property damage and theft comes to exactly $278,436. I asked him to repeat the number, making sure Dylan and Sarah heard the amount. "That includes the wine collection, missing electronics, damaged furniture security system, replacement carpet cleaning, paint repair, and professional deep cleaning to remove evidence of drug activity." Sarah added the figure to her legal paperwork. "Wilson, this amount qualifies for federal charges if they transported stolen goods across state lines, which they did when your cousin brought items back to Phoenix. My family's weekend vacation had become a federal criminal case with potential prison sentences for multiple participants." Jake finally approached me, sober and subdued. "Wilson, I need help. The drug dealing, the drinking, the constant fighting with everyone. I'm destroying my life, and I nearly destroyed yours too." "What kind of help, Jake?" "Rehab. Real treatment, not just family enabling. I'll testify against Dad's fraudulent lawsuit if you help me get clean." This was the first accountability I'd heard from any family member. Jake acknowledging his problems and asking for appropriate help instead of demanding money or making excuses. "I'll pay for legitimate treatment, Jake, but no access to money, no contact during recovery, and complete honesty about everything that happened here." Deal. Emma made one final attempt at manipulation, approaching with tears and dramatic gestures. "Wilson, please don't destroy our family over money. We made mistakes, but we're still blood relatives. Emma, you turned my home into a commercial venue, charged strangers for access, advertised my private property online, and live-streamed our family conflict for entertainment. You stopped treating me like family when you started treating me like content. I can make this right. You can make this legal. Full restitution, public apology, retracting your false claims, cooperation with criminal proceedings, and permanent respect for boundaries. She walked away when she realized tears and guilt wouldn't work anymore. Patricia and Frank were released on bail by noon, immediately beginning their own media campaign, claiming I'd abandoned family values for corporate greed. But their credibility was destroyed by documented evidence of their illegal activities. As my family scattered to deal with their legal problems separately, I realized that this crisis had finally forced the honesty our relationships had always lacked. The people who genuinely cared about me were willing to accept consequences and change behavior. The people who only cared about what I could provide were fighting to maintain their access to my resources. For the first time in my adult life, I could distinguish between love and exploitation. The difference was respect for boundaries, accountability for actions, and reciprocal consideration instead of one-sided extraction. My house was finally quiet, my reputation protected, my business secure. But more importantly, my understanding of family had evolved from obligation based on genetics to choice based on mutual respect and genuine care. 6 months later, I stood on my restored deck watching the sunset over Malibu, the same view that had been violated by family members who mistook my success for their entitlement. The legal cases had concluded the property was secured, and my life had transformed in ways I never expected. Frank received 2 years in federal prison for wire fraud related to his crowdfunding scheme. The judge was particularly harsh because he'd used children's photos to manipulate sympathy while living in luxury accommodations. His lawyer's attempts to claim family dispute rather than criminal behavior were dismissed when prosecutors presented evidence of systematic deception. Patricia received 18 months for grand theft and conspiracy charges. Her tearful courtroom apology about family misunderstandings couldn't overcome the documented evidence of stolen wine worth $50,000 and her participation in fraudulent property claims. Emma faced federal charges for operating an illegal business using someone else's property and advertising fraudulent rental services online. She ultimately accepted a plea bargain involving 3 years probation, complete restitution, and permanent restraining orders. Her social media influencer career never recovered from the scandal. But Jake's story became something unexpectedly positive. His voluntary testimony against Frank's fraudulent lawsuit, combined with his genuine commitment to rehabilitation, resulted in suspended sentences contingent on completing drug treatment. He'd been clean for 5 months and working construction jobs to pay restitution. "Wilson," Jake's voice called from my driveway. I walked around to find my brother standing beside a pickup truck wearing work clothes and safety equipment, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. "I have your final restitution payment," he said, holding out an envelope containing cash. $2,000. That completes the $37,000 I owed you. Jake had been working 60-hour weeks for 6 months to repay his share of damages, refusing any family financial support, and living in a sober living facility while rebuilding his life. "Jake, how are you doing? Really? Good days and bad days, but mostly good. Rehab taught me that I'd been using family guilt trips as emotional manipulation to avoid consequences. What we did to you wasn't love. It was addiction to enabling behavior." His insight was remarkable. Professional treatment had given him vocabulary to understand family dynamics that had damaged all of us for years. "I don't expect forgiveness or relationship restoration," he continued. "But I needed you to know that what happened helped save my life. Prison would have been easier than facing what I'd become." I accepted his payment and shook his hand. "Jake, I'm proud of your progress. Keep focusing on your recovery." After he left, I called Chloe, the only family member who'd chosen honesty over loyalty to criminal behavior. "How's law school treating you?" I asked. "Challenging, but I love it. Wilson, your legal support made this possible, but more importantly, watching you stand up to family manipulation taught me what healthy boundaries look like." Chloe had testified truthfully in all legal proceedings, refused to participate in family campaigns against me, and focused on building her own independent life. Our relationship had become genuinely supportive rather than transactionally based. "Are you still planning to specialize in family law?" "Yes, specifically helping people establish boundaries with financially abusive relatives. Our situation isn't unique. Successful people getting exploited by family members is incredibly common, but nobody talks about it. She was transforming our painful experience into meaningful help for others facing similar exploitation. Dylan knocked on my sliding door carrying 2 beers and a laptop. Ready for the best news of your day. Better than watching the sunset in my own house without uninvited guests. Series C funding closed. $120 million. Investors specifically cited your crisis management and executive decision-making as confidence factors. The family disaster that threatened to destroy my business reputation had actually enhanced investor confidence in my leadership capabilities. Also, that Forbes article about family boundary setting generated over 2 million views. You're getting speaking requests from entrepreneurship conferences about managing success and family relationships. My painful personal experience was creating opportunities to help other successful people navigate family exploitation without guilt or enabling destructive behavior. Amanda Torres had helped me develop speaking content that addressed the unique challenges successful entrepreneurs face when family members view achievements as community property rather than individual accomplishment. Wilson, you've received over 3,000 messages from people sharing similar family exploitation stories. Your willingness to discuss this publicly is helping others recognize their situations. That evening, Jessica arrived for dinner carrying groceries and wearing the engagement ring I'd given her 3 weeks earlier. How did the final legal meeting go? She asked, unpacking ingredients for our meal. Everything's resolved. Restitution, complete restraining orders, permanent criminal cases concluded. It's officially over. How do you feel about that? I considered the question while we cooked together in the kitchen where my family had once celebrated their successful invasion of my property. Peaceful. For the first time in my adult life, my relationships are based on mutual respect rather than financial obligation or guilt manipulation. Jessica had supported me through the entire crisis without once suggesting I should enable my family's behavior for the sake of maintaining relationships. Her understanding of healthy boundaries had been crucial during my most difficult decisions. I have news, she said, smiling mysteriously. Remember that nonprofit we discussed, the one helping young entrepreneurs from troubled families? The Boundary Education Program. The board approved full funding. We start with 10 entrepreneurship scholarships specifically for people from families with addiction, financial abuse, or emotional manipulation. Recipients get business education plus therapy to develop healthy relationship skills. We were creating something positive from the destruction my family had caused, helping other talented people build successful lives without enabling toxic family dynamics that had held them back. After dinner, we sat on the deck where 6 months earlier I'd confronted family members who turned my sanctuary into their commercial venue. The same space now hosted quiet conversations about building a life based on authentic relationships rather than guilt-driven obligations. Wilson, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you miss them? Your family? I thought about her question while watching waves crash against the beach where my parents had been arrested for theft and fraud. I miss the family I always hoped we could be. The family that supported each other's success instead of exploiting it. The family that respected boundaries instead of violating them. But that family never actually existed. What about the family that did exist? I don't miss being taken advantage of, manipulated with guilt, or having my achievements treated as everyone else's entitlement. I don't miss walking on eggshells to avoid conflict while enabling destructive behavior. The truth was liberating. I'd spent years trying to maintain relationships with people who only valued what I could provide, rather than who I was as a person. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. Passed my constitutional law exam. Thank you for believing in me and supporting my education. You're the only family member who ever invested in my potential, instead of exploiting my loyalty. Her message perfectly captured the difference between authentic family relationships and transactional exploitation disguised as love. Jessica, I've learned that real family isn't about blood relations or childhood history. It's about people who celebrate your success, respect your boundaries, and support your goals without expecting anything except mutual care and respect. Like our chosen family. Exactly like our chosen family. As stars appeared over the Pacific Ocean, I felt gratitude for the painful crisis that had forced me to distinguish between obligation and love, between enabling and supporting, between genetic connection and authentic family. My Malibu sanctuary was truly peaceful, now protected by security systems and healthy boundaries shared only with people who appreciated rather than exploited my hospitality. The house where my family once planned their permanent takeover now hosted conversations about building healthier relationships, supporting authentic success, and creating positive change from painful experiences. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable destructive behavior, even from people who raised you. Sometimes protecting your success means protecting it from people who see your achievements as their entitlement. Sometimes real family means choosing people who choose you back, who respect your boundaries and who celebrate your success without demanding to own it. Standing in my own home, surrounded by people who valued me rather than exploited me, I realized this was what happiness actually felt like. Not the temporary satisfaction of avoiding family conflict, but the deep peace of authentic relationships based on mutual respect and genuine care. My family had planned a vacation without me at my beach house in Malibu without permission, but their violation had led to my liberation from relationships that were never actually about love. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had family members or close friends take advantage of your success or generosity? How did you handle setting boundaries with people you love when they cross the line from support to exploitation? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your story might help someone else who's struggling with similar challenges. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming difficult family dynamics, and share this with anyone who might benefit from learning about healthy boundary setting. Thank you for listening, and remember that protecting your success isn't selfish when it's protecting your ability to authentically help others. Until next time, take care of yourselves and the people who truly care about you.